One Zambia, One Nation is 19 hours Central African time. Welcome to the ZNBC main news. Let's quickly take a look at stories making headlines tonight. President Edgar Lungu has honored 8 individuals for their distinguished service to the nation. Vice President Inonge Wina says government is devoted to honoring the promise of independence. Freedom fighters in southern province have called on Zambians to respect the presidency. And 58 students from Zambia have been offered scholarships to study in Russia, Egypt and Tunisia. With the details, I'm Paxina Hankanga, and on sign language we have Obed Mambwe. President Edgar Lungu has honored 8 individuals for their distinguished service to the nation. Among them is veteran businessman Andrew Sudanis, who was awarded with the Order of the Eagle of Zambia 3rd Division. Mr. Sudanis was praised for having formed companies that employed Zambians when racial discrimination was rife in the country. The awards were presented by President Lungu during the investiture ceremony at State House today. Hector Simfukwe now reports.
These were some of the recipients of the President's accolades for their distinguished service to the nation. FIFA referee Jan Sikazwe, former Zambian ambassador to Ethiopia Susan Skaneta, and late Chief Bright Narubamba were some of the people who were honored. Others are former Secretary to the Cabinet Treasury Mbula and late freedom fighter Sylvester Chisembele. After the investiture ceremony, those who gathered were entertained by various entertainment groups. Later, President Edgar Lungu took time to greet the people who came for the ceremony. And speaking to ZNBC News, Jan Sikazwe thanked President Edgar Lungu for recognizing his efforts.
Well, I just have to thank God for whatever happened. I didn't expect this, and
but we reflect on what freedom really means to this country. Happy 55th independence.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Forum for Democracy and Development FTD President Edith Nawakwi has urged young people to use the Independence Day celebrations to reflect on their lives. She said young people should learn to love one another if they are to achieve more.
It's unity of the young people. I feel sad to see young people draw pangas at each other. I grieve when I see that young people who were born in a free country are fighting. The young people with so much energy, so much knowledge that if they could only sit together, we can plan for education, we can plan for development, we can plan for anything.
This year's independence celebrations have been held under the theme, Our Freedom, Our Country, Our Responsibility. Hector Simfukwe, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
Now, earlier, President Lungu presided over the wreath-laying ceremony that accompanies the commemoration of the Independence Day. The president led service chiefs and various diplomats accredited to Zambia. Hanuka Sama now reports.
President Edgar Lungu presides over the wreath-laying ceremony that accompanies the commemoration of the Independence Day. The president led service chiefs and various diplomats accredited to Zambia at Lusaka's Freedom Statue this morning. Meanwhile, National Democratic Congress NDC leader Shimbaka Mbwili was among the dignitaries that attended the wreath-laying ceremony and shook hands with President Lungu. Fourth President Rupia Banda, Chief Justice Harin Mamirima, First Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly Catherine Namgala, and new Congress party leader Peter Chanda were also present. Presenting the homily, Zambia Air Force ZAF chaplain Moffat Nyambe urged leaders and elders at various levels to pass on positive values to the young generation to guarantee their sound future.
So it is up to us as the elders to be able to begin to re-educate, to inculcate the values to the young men and the women of Zambia.
During the same occasion, 4th President Rupia Banda urged youth to uphold national values and principles.
That the young people must remember that this country was colonized, all of us were under bondage. And then your parents, your grandparents, like myself and so on, had to fight in order to have this country, and we must do everything to keep this country together. We must reconcile if we have differences.
And freedom fighter Robin Kalavi urged Zambians from various backgrounds to cherish the country's independence.
The elders fought for independence so that the young today could work hard freely and make their money.
Zambia's 55th independence anniversary has been held under the theme, Our Freedom, Our Country, Our Responsibility. Hanok Kasama, ZNBC News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, President Lungu has called for the immediate lifting of economic sanctions against Zimbabwe. The president says the move will enable Zimbabwe to register social and economic development. President Lungu says the continuous restrictive sanctions have been hindering Zimbabwe from making significant economic progress. He says Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa has made significant efforts to implement economic and political reforms. President Lungu says it is against such a background that Zambia, in solidarity with other countries in the SADC region and beyond, has called for the immediate removal of the economic sanctions against Zimbabwe. Now, this is contained in a statement released to ZNBC News in Lusaka today by Special Assistant to the President for Press and Public Relations, Isaac Chipampe. Now, Vice President Inonge Wina says government is devoted to honoring the promise of independence by building a brighter future desired by all Zambians. Mrs. Wina was speaking at the hoisting of the Zambian flag ceremony on the eve of the 55th independence anniversary in Lusaka last night. Etambuyu Katotra now reports.
A military drill leading to the handover of the Zambian flag to Vice President Inonge Wina. The handover was perfectly timed, and at exactly midnight, the flag was hoisted, replacing the British flag. The ceremony carries the significance of replicating events of the eve of independence in 1964. As was done in October 1964, fireworks covered the night sky, lighting up the grounds to the delight of those in attendance. The Vice President outlined government's devotion to building a brighter future desired by all Zambians.
We renew the commitment of government and its people to deliver on the promises of our independence. Our people wanted good education, easy access to social services, and an opportunity to make a better life for themselves and their families. Therefore, day by day, week by week, and brick by brick, my government is building a brighter future we all desire.
The ceremony was characterized by an entertainment display. The hoisting of the national flag 55 years ago gave birth to a new nation, and today it represents Zambia's history, wealth and future. Etambuyu Katota, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
In Livingstone, hundreds of residents turned up at the golf club to celebrate Zambia's independence anniversary. Here's a report.
In Livingstone, the 55th independence celebrations kicked off on the eve of the anniversary at the Civic Center. The hoisting of the Zambia national flag started at about 5 minutes to midnight amidst cheers from residents who attended the event. And Livingstone Acting District Commissioner Harriet Kawina paid tribute to freedom fighters for their sacrifice to liberate the country.
As we celebrate our independence, we should always recall that it came about due to the courage and outstanding responsibility by our founding fathers and mothers to liberate our country from colonial rule and experience the freedom we are enjoying today.
And in the morning of Independence Day, the celebrations continued, starting with a march past from the Mukuni Park, flagged off by Southern Province Minister Edfai Hamukale. The procession was led to the Senate of in honor of those who gave their lives for the land. And
must continue to build a nation with greater determination, sacrifice, unity of purpose, and nationalism so that we can achieve greater progress as a nation. As Zambia moves towards sustainable national development, our country continues to be a beacon of peace in the region and beyond.
Zambia's 55th independence anniversary is being celebrated under the theme, Our Freedom, Our Country, Our Responsibility. Mesingoma, ZNBC News in Livingstone.
And Copperbelt Province Minister Japhet Mwakalombe says it is the duty and responsibility of every Zambian to be patriotic, loyal and committed to protecting and defending the Constitution. Here's a report.
Our freedom, our country, our responsibility was the theme for this year's Independence Day celebrations to mark Zambia's 55 years of freedom. Copperbelt Province Minister Japhet Mwakalombe graced the event. The celebrations were preceded by laying of wreaths at the Freedom Square.
As Zambia, regardless of political party, to come together and to work together, to bring ideas together so that we can build the nation.
Mr. Mwakalombe later led hundreds of Ndola residents to the Civic Center grounds where he urged them to uphold and defend the national constitution.
Lungu, President of the Republic of Zambia, has been in the forefront in ensuring that Zambians enjoy their freedom and rights by ensuring that they are given a constitution that speaks to their desires and aspirations.
We are all seated here because somebody, somewhere, fought for the peace that we're enjoying today.
Meanwhile, freedom fighters have identified the following gray areas.
We have people who doesn't know what is the meaning of independence. They're at the market, they are selling. It's a day that people should even go to church and give thanksgiving to God for liberating us.
Frank Chingambo reporting in Ndola.
In Rapula Province, Health Minister Chitaluchi Lufia called on Zambians to heed President Edgar Lungu's call to remain united as the country makes strides in attaining economic freedom. Robert Mwanza now reports.
They are marching for a noble cause. This is to mark Zambia's 55th birthday. Led by Mansa Central Member of Parliament Chitaluchi Lufia, residents of Mansa and surrounding areas did not want to be left out, as singing and dancing punctuated the celebrations at Mansa's Kawole Stadium. And blessing this year's Independence Day, Dr. Chilufia, who is also Minister of Health and PF member of the Central Committee, called on Zambians to heed to President Edgar Lungu's call to remain united as the country makes strides in attaining economic freedom.
This is the spirit in which the President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Lungu, has led the nation, speaking in various languages, reminded us to ensure that we remain united, because unity, freedom, requisite for development.
Speaking at the same function, Mansa District Commissioner James Nyenjele implored all Zambians to maintain peace for the good of the country. Meanwhile, Mansa District Freedom Fighters chairperson Cyprian Mwanda praised President Lungu for prioritizing the plight of freedom fighters during his reign.
Lungu
The theme for this year's Independence Day, which was preceded by showers in Massa district, is Our Freedom, Our Country, Our Responsibility. This is Robert Mwanza, ZNBC News in Massa district.
Meanwhile, Northern Province Minister Chungu Bwalia has expressed worry with the growing culture of political violence. Here's a report.
As a nation, we need time like this one, to reflect on the sacrifices our forefathers and mothers made to be where we are today, as well as remind ourselves of the need for us to remain united and committed to a better Zambia, as was mentioned by our founding fathers. It is worrying to learn that an independent country such as ours, a life can be lost merely for political reasons. You and I agree that never at any time did our founding fathers and mothers imagine that such a thing would happen in a post-independent Zambia.
Independence means
Well, you're watching ZNBC Main News. We take a break. Stay tuned for more stories after that. Well, thank you for still staying with us, and now for the rest of the news. Kafiwa District Commissioner Joseph Kamana has urged residents to protect and guard jealously the freedom and tranquility that the country has enjoyed since independence. Speaking during the independence celebrations held at Kosa Stadium in Kafiwa District, Mr. Kamana said Zambians should not take the peace the country has enjoyed for granted. He said Zambians should be tolerant towards each other regardless of their political affiliation. And Kafiwa District Council Chairperson Brigadier General Mono Simagoloi urged all Kafiwa residents to remain true to the national values and principles of the country.
What brings us together today are the gallant men and women and the youths who sacrificed their lives and the security of their families to gain freedom. Let us guard our peace and freedom jealously. It is our responsibility to make our country Zambia and Kafiwa district in particular peaceful by preaching and practicing patriotism and by remaining true to our national values and principles.
We must therefore be tolerant towards each other, regardless of our political, religious, and cultural inclinations. Let us emulate the extraordinary spirit of patriotism that our freedom fighters showed us in their quest for freedom. As a nation, it is important to take advantage of our democratic dispensation to consolidate our national unity in line with the motto of One Zambia, One Nation, which has held us together and which every peace-loving Zambian should continue to cherish.
And Chilanga District Commissioner Edith Mwana has challenged the Chilanga residents to leave a legacy that the future generation will celebrate. Details in the following report.
It is that time of year again when Zambians come together to celebrate a very important day, Independence. And in Chilanga District, they are doing it in style.
We've maintained and cherished our peace and freedom for 55 years, in which we have transformed our country for the better.
This day is a special day for all Zambians as we celebrate the birth of our nation. We do well to remember the gallant men and women who fought for our independence.
Nobody will develop Zambia for us. We should not wait for people to come from outside to develop our country. It is up to you and me to develop our country. Let us work very hard and put in our all to be a developed country. We are actually developing, but we have to put in our all to be one of the developed countries one day.
Meanwhile, Chilanga District Commissioner Edith Mwana has called on people to play their part in bettering the nation. And for those who have made notable contributions in the district, their efforts have not gone unnoticed.
You and I also have to play a part to see a better Zambia. Ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating our freedom today because of our gallant men and women who fought for it. There is something that we should do so that the future will be celebrating something about us when we are no longer here. As a country, we are on the right path.
This year's Independence Day theme is Our Freedom, Our Country, Our Responsibility. Kasabula Muchinga, ZNBC News in Chilanga.
Meanwhile, freedom fighters in Southern Province have called on Zambians to respect the presidency. Mike Mukombwe now reports.
It is everyone's responsibility to keep the freedom of our country, which was earned through sacrifices of our forefathers. However, the contemporary generation, the youths, are now used as tools of violence, especially in the political spectrum.
This is a very important ingredient in the development of any given country. And the young people are the future of any given country. Never should you be used because of some people who want to get political mileage out of you. It is only Zambia we have as our own country. And the freedom that today we are celebrating, it is for all of us.
The freedom fighters in the province are also not happy with the current situation where some people are not respecting the presidency.
When you people choose a person, you have to respect him. Majority lose. So this situation of insulting our leaders is not African. It's not our culture. In Africa context, it's wrong to insult a leader.
Our freedom in Zambia was hard-earned. It is our responsibility to keep this peace and unity that we've had for 55 years now. Mike Munkombwe, Zanis, in Choma District.
To Western Province now, where Western Province Minister Richard Kapita has called on Zambians not to dent the country's image to the international community. Here's a report.
It was an event that cut across age, tribe and ethnicity. Even the outfits today were in sync with the theme of the day, Independence Day. Hundreds of people from all walks of life in Solwezi joined in festivities to celebrate 55 years of independence. The day started with a march past and then rolled into the celebrations. Western Province Minister Richard Kapita was the guest of honor. He wants the country's image protected.
We should always remember that with every privilege comes responsibility. Do not help us to leave this country, go to other countries and demonize our own country. If you have issues in Zambia, talk about them in Zambia and within Zambia, not outside Zambia.
He also wants Zambians to be patriotic and contribute to the country's economic growth.
We can also turn our country into one that will be admired by the rest of the world. We need to build it in all manner of growth. We have a responsibility to love our country and consequently to love each other.
And the local leadership has urged politicians not to divide the country.
Is plural politics confusing us? I don't think so. We must coexist.
Over 20 companies participated in the Independence Day celebrations. Lupindula Mwewa, ZNBC News, Solwezi.
Meanwhile, Central Province Minister Sidney Muchinga has appealed to people in the region to maintain peace, love and unity.
I challenge you young people to be ambassadors of change, as the youth of 1964 and before did, by fighting for freedom of our nation. And they were not fighting fellow Zambians, but they were fighting those who they looked at to be colonial masters. I invite you, as the 21st century youth, to strive to be remembered as youth that fought for economic emancipation, economic transformation, embraced diversification, and engineered the socio-economic change in our district and in our province.
Government has intensified various interventions to mitigate the polio outbreak in Chiengi district. Zambia National Public Health Institute Head of Communications, Information and Research, Mazianga Liwewe, says among the interventions include surveillance in health, in all health facilities, communities and points of entry, among others. And District Governor-elect for Rotary International District 9210, Lucy Kasanga, said despite the recent incidents of polio in Chiengi district, the country has seen a reduction in cases.
And including Nigeria, which was the only country which was experiencing new cases of polio, as was declared this year in August as polio-free. Because for the past 4 years, they haven't had a new case of polio reported anywhere in the country of Nigeria. And therefore, this year, we are celebrating the people who have made this dream country. The ground troops that have gone and actually vaccinated our children. So we celebrate them this year as we commemorate End Polio.
But this year we've had a reemergence in Chiengi. We've had one case of polio, and an immediate reaction has been taken over by the government, utilizing the Zambia National Public Health Institute, which is its intelligence wing, disease intelligence wing, to ensure that we mitigate and curtail any further spread of polio within the country. So we've enhanced our surveillance capacities.
Now, a ZNBC staffer Chico Mukoka's family has asked for privacy surrounding events of their brother's behavioral health challenge that has gone viral on social media. Chico's elder brother, Augustine, says privacy is the family's legal and moral entitlement. Mr. Mukoka said in a statement that his brother needs love, collective support, help and care. Mr. Mukoka says Wednesday's events in Lusaka's Chilenje township were not politically motivated, and versions of stories circulating on social media contained inaccuracies, and that ought to stop. He has also thanked ZNBC for the support rendered to Chico and his family during this trying time. And ZNBC has dispelled social media reports that Chico has been fired by the corporation. ZNBC Corporate Affairs Manager Yvette Chanda says Mr. Mukoka is a ZNBC employee who is currently on leave. Mrs. Chanda says it is unfortunate that social media has been awash with pictures of an incident that happened on Wednesday involving Mr. Mukoka, where he was beaten by a mob. She says the corporation is working closely with Mr. Mukoka's family as they go through this difficult situation. We take another break. Stay tuned. 58 students from Zambia have been offered scholarships to study in Russia, Egypt and Tunisia respectively at undergraduate and master's level for the 2019-2020 academic year. Higher Education Loans and Scholarships Board Director Irene Chirwa says the scholarships granted are relevant to Zambia's development. Mrs. Chirwa said this when she addressed the students in Lusaka. And former student at to Russia, Musonda Chpampe, urged the new students to follow the rules of their host universities. President Edgar Lungu has commended Russia for the immense contribution the country has made to Zambia and the African region. President Lungu was speaking in a statement read for him by Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Malanji at the Russia-Africa Summit. Here's a report.
Several African heads of states and governments have attended the inaugural Russia-Africa Summit, which seeks to improve trade relations between Russia and the African continent. President Edgar Lungu was represented at the summit by Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Malanji.
I therefore wish to take this opportunity to acknowledge the role played by Russia in contributing to Zambia's liberation from colonial rule in 1964.
The minister also spoke about climate change.
One of Africa's greatest challenges today is the phenomenon of climate change, from which Zambia has not been spared. Its punishing multiplier effects include changing rainfall patterns, which in turn have contributed to a deficit in power production and adverse effects on crop production. In the process, impact economic growth.
The meeting was co-chaired by Russian President Vladimir Putin and AU chairperson Alpha Fatah Sisi. Russia's relationship with Africa is not new, as the two sides have shared warm and historical ties dating back over half a century. Ingutu Mwanza, reporting from Sochi, Russia.
Well, happy independence celebrations. That's it with the news. Good night and God bless you.